It's not set up, Dr. Ella.
How are you doing, Chris?
Yeah, how about you?
Get that email.
Chris,
I did. I'm good to go. Thank you. I forgot. Yeah.
what is going on with this thing? Oh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Nash County Public Schools Board of Education Committee meetings. We have, I think, 3 to 4 committees that we'll be discussing this evening. And the very first one that we will start out with would be the Administrative Services and Operations. So with that said, I'd like to call that meeting to order. We have a couple items that we'll be discussing this evening. The very first one will be the actually census redistricting. And then we'll have the freezer and child nutrition, building and child nutrition. And I got one that I'm gonna, that's got added onto this meeting, and that's the addendum. I'm gonna have to have an addendum to add Tyler Technology in this group. So with that said, I will take roll call for this committee. Bill Sharp's here. Lank Dunkston. Donovan Chavis.
Here.
Franklin Lamb.
Here.
Sharona Bullock.
Here.
Thank you. All right, so I need a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Chavis, second by Mrs. Sharona Bullock. Questions or discussions? Hearing none, it's been approved. So the first item that we have, I need a motion also to make an amendment to the meeting to add the Tyler Technologies, and we'll do that right after item number 3. So we'll call that item 3A. Can I get a motion to add that addendum, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Mrs. Sharona Bullock, second by Ms. Donna Chavis. Questions or discussions? Hearing none, we'll proceed right into our meeting. We would like to also welcome Adam and his Bill, correct? They'll be coming presented to us. We talked about the census redistricting. They'll be coming up reporting to us as far as what their findings are. I turn it over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, board members. Dr. Ellis, do we have any other board members electronically? I just want to.
Yes, we have. So electronically, we have, who do we got on? Sharonda Bullock, Chris Visit, Dean Edwards. Okay.
Okay. Great.
So for this committee, the person that's on electronic will be Sharonda Bullock.
Okay. Perfect. Well, it's good to see you again. My name is Adam Mitchell, Malaire Tharrington Smith. My map making partner, Bill Gilkison, is here with me as well. Bill's going to be doing most of the talking this afternoon. If you'll recall, the last time we came out, we talked about what redistricting is and the fact that we need to balance the population of your election districts following the 2020 census. We looked at that data. We talked about criteria. You gave us guidance on those criteria. And then we've been working to create 3 alternative plans for your consideration. We're going to throw a lot of information at you. We will try to do it in a systematic way, but we did schedule this meeting close to your regular meeting next week so that you don't have to do anything tonight other than listen. You certainly can discuss, we can answer questions, we can see how people feel, but from my perspective, it will be okay for you just to listen and then for us to pick back up at the next meeting with discussion. But we do need to be mindful that we are on a timeline
That's right.
and we do need to move the ball along. But again, that's why we have the very close gap between tonight and your next regular meeting. So with that,
So Adam, I'm also going to say that that's a great point that you brought up. So if you do have questions or concerns that maybe not addressed here, we can forward those to you and you can respond back to them when we come back to our next meeting.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So with that said, I will turn it over to Bill and he's going to walk you through alternatives A, B, and C and explain the different perspectives and pluses and minuses of those. And then we'll be glad to take any questions. Bill?
This first thing I need to figure out is this, to move it forward, you press this one. And I have to
That's
Well,
okay.
get my bearings.
Club.
Thank you very much. We're honored to be here. First off, there are certain standard disclaimers that we do. Part of our policy. We did not use partisan considerations or look at election data in drawing these three maps that we're presenting to you. We did not communicate with any individual board member outside of a public meeting about drawing these maps. And so Adam mentioned the criteria that you gave to us. You said to start from current districts, which we did. Do not pair incumbents. So all three of the alternatives that we present to you today avoid pairing incumbents. If somehow we messed up and did pair incumbents, please tell us, but I don't think we did. You directed us to give you two plans that do not account for future growth by putting the districts at a within the 5% plus or minus population range, down or up based on expected growth. But you wanted one plan that does. And you told us to work with the county and municipal planning staff on growth patterns, which we did. And so alternative B is an attempt to account for that growth. You said try to keep precincts whole. We attempted that in all three of the plans, but alternative C emphasizes that and does it to a greater extent than the other two. You said try to keep the smaller municipalities whole. It's impossible to keep Rocky Mount whole, but we attempted to keep the smaller municipalities whole in all three. Again, alternative C emphasizes that more than the others, as you will see. And it said do not go out of the way to decrease the number of districts in Edgecombe County. I learned a couple of things about the Edgecombe County district in the course of this. One, about Edgecombe County in the course of this, I learned that you could draw a district that is entirely in Edgecombe County, but I also learned that none of the incumbents live in Edgecombe County, and so I would be violating that second thing if I did that. Plus, you didn't want us to do that. And to respect natural boundaries when possible. Here are the current districts with the precinct lines superimposed on them. And you can see that the current districts, the precincts of Nash County and part of Edgecombe County here are relatively big, and the current districts don't really go, don't fit within them entirely. So if you try to keep the districts, if you try to preserve the cores of existing districts, it's a little hard to keep the precinct lines, to keep the districts, to keep precincts whole. There, here is a close-up of the districts in Rocky Mount, of the current districts in Rocky Mount, and we'll be doing this throughout a countywide look, and then looking at the district, doing a close-up of Rocky Mount. Here are the current districts with the municipal lines, the Rocky Mount lines, and then the smaller municipality lines. So here is something we told you last time. These are the, this is the, these are the 11 districts with the ideal population and the deviations of the current districts from that ideal population. This will show something slightly different than what we told you last time. The bottom line number is 11 people smaller, and the ideal population is one district is one person smaller than before, because in importing the a shape file into our software, somehow 11 people from Franklin County were picked up. So we put the 11 people back in Franklin County. And
Can we get the money associated with them too?
I don't know how much that would be. That's somebody might know. So this is what you have here. The districts that are overpopulated are, let's see, on this side there. There's an important column. Yeah, exactly. There's an important column on the right there that tells you which districts are too big or beyond the 5% plus beyond the plus 5%, and therefore have to shrink. And those are the ones in yellow, and the ones in blue are the districts that are below the minus 5% acceptable deviation, and therefore have to grow. And so here is alternative A. With the precinct lines superimposed on it. Alternative A, close up the Rocky Mount close up, and alternative A with the municipal lines superimposed. Here's a comparison of the current map and of alternative A, just side by side, so you can sort of tell. And the characteristics of it, as you can tell from looking at it, this is the one that comes closest to the current districts. Let's see. You can kind of, if you look at them, if you look at the districts side by side, you can tell that they're pretty close. They're not exactly, but they're pretty close. So it keeps each incumbent in a separate district with the same district numbers now. It keeps 8 precincts whole. The current map keeps 6 precincts whole. Alternative A keeps 5 municipalities whole, which is the same as the current map. And I'm not counting Whitaker's and Sharpsburg, is that? Yeah. Which straddle the county line and aren't whole anyway. It takes 4 districts into Edgecombe County, the same as the current map. And it does not attempt to put the districts with expected growth at the low end of the 5%, et cetera. So here are the deviations in alternative A, and you can see how that goes. I guess District 6 and Districts 4 and 3, 4, and 6 would be at the high end, and 7 and 9 would be at the low end. Okay, so here's alternative B with the precinct lines. Alternative B with the Rocky Mount close up, alternative B with the municipal lines, and alternative B compared with the current map. So you can see it's still kind of pretty close to the current districts. But this is the one that attempts to take into account expected population growth by putting the districts where growth is expected at the low end. Is generally similar to alternative A and the current districts, keeps each incumbent in a separate district with the same district numbers now, keeps 8 precincts whole. Alternative, the current map keeps 6. Alternative A also keeps 8 whole, and the current map keeps 6 whole. Keeps 6 municipalities whole, whereas alternative A and the current map keep 5 whole. There's a chart at the end that kind of puts this together. And it takes the same 4 districts into Edgecombe as the current map and alternative A. So you told us to talk to the planners. These were our sources. And I hope you got a chance to look at the materials that they provided us. Adam Tyson and Adam Culpepper with Nash County Planning did a very nice, I thought did a very useful map showing the current, the expected developments in the unincorporated part of the county, and had a map with the green circles. They said that does not include developments within the municipalities. So we needed to talk to these other people, Will Deaton, Sean Lucas, etc. And they were very, very helpful as well. So here's a map roughly showing the areas of expected growth. Biggest area is down around Bailey and in the western end of the county. And here are those developments superimposed on the current districts, or rather on alternative B. So here's alternative B, and the district where the most growth seems to be expected is District 2, which includes Bailey and includes the large developments down there of whatever it's called, Williams Grove and that sort of thing. It is minus 4.21, which is at the very lowest end of the range. Also down there are 3 and 4. There's some development in Nashville. And 7 because of developments around White Oak, and 11, which goes into Edgecombe County, also goes up to include the expected growth in the Belmont Lakes area. So that's what we have there. Then there's alternative C. Here they are with the precinct lines, and you can tell just looking at them the way they fit into precinct lines. You can see that later on. Alternative C, with the Rocky Mount close up. Here, C, you can see there are 3 districts that go into Edgecombe rather than the 4 in the current plan and in the other alternatives. Here's alternative C with the municipal lines. Here's the current map and alternative C side by side, and you can tell, there are some differences, but it started with the current maps. It keeps precinct the characteristics of alternative C, or it keeps precincts and municipalities whole to a greater extent than the current map A or B. Attempts to preserve the cores of districts, but does so less than A and B, and keeps each, as all 3 do, it keeps each incumbent in a separate district with the same district number as now. This one keeps 14 precincts whole. Alternative A keeps 8 whole. Alternative B keeps 8 whole, and the current map keeps 6 whole. So keeps 8 municipalities substantially whole. There's some parts of, there's a part of Nashville that's not exactly whole, but nobody lives in the part that's not in the Nashville district. And so you can see how that compares with the other plans. And this one takes 3 districts into Edgecombe. All the other maps take 4 there. Doesn't attempt to take expected growth into account. And here are the deviations. Actually, quite a few of them there are pushing the edges. So pushing the 4%, the minus 4% or the plus 4%. So here's a side-by-side comparison of all the maps, current A, B, and C. Same with the Rocky Mountain close-up. And here's a comparison thing. Unfortunately, I messed up here, and the 3 and 4 should be switched with alternative B and C. So alternative C with the number of districts going into Edgecombe. That should be, if you got a piece of paper there and you wanted to change that, that would be great. And then here is a summary of all the demographics of all the districts of total population. If you wanted to see voting age population as well, we also have, you've got a sheet that looks like this. And you probably, some of you probably been.
Let me see.
Yes, ma'am. Some of you have
Sorry.
probably been
Okay.
watching that. So I believe that's the last slide. Yeah, okay. Anybody have any questions?
Just for clarification on my part, the next to the last slide where we took the number of districts, you said you had this flip B and C, alternative B and C with the number of districts in Edgecombe?
Right. C has 3 districts going into Edgecombe.
And B has
and
4.
B has 4.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. Thank you.
The block and shape files,
I'm sorry.
the files block and shape.
The shape files.
Uh-huh.
Are you
I'm about to ask you a question.
okay?
Do you plan to make those files public? So that the community will have a chance to look at those before we actually schedule a public hearing? I think that would be
Yes,
helpful.
I think so. And we probably should also mention the interactive app.
Yeah. So there is, and I believe this was in your materials, there is a website, or we call it an interactive map, that basically has the current district plan, all of the alternative plans as layers that you can turn on and off. And it allows you to zoom into a very fine level, and you can actually even search by address. So if you or a citizen wants to put in your home address, you can click on current and it'll show you what district you're in. And then you can click on A and it'll show you what district it's in all the way through. We don't, that's up to the, as far as the shape files, that's up to the board. I mean, we can certainly.
I think Ms. Brooks alluded to, I think this board will be as transparent for the whole process as we go through the process. So what we see, we have the same access to see the same thing.
Right. They're not digestible without redistricting software. So it's not something that you can just click on a computer, but we're happy to make those available. And if someone has the software they would need, then they could certainly look at those.
Okay.
There are some folk out there who
Yeah,
actually do have
sure.
it. You're right.
Other questions?
I have one, but I'm sure you're gonna answer it later on, so I was trying to be patient. I was wondering if there's a map where we can actually physically see the schools. I was trying to zoom in on that app so I can see where the schools fall within those lines. And
We would-
primarily, I'm interested in District 1, to be honest.
Okay,
Can I piggyback on that question? And I can sort of help with that. This week, I've asked communications group to look at the maps
Mhm.
and actually see what it would take to actually see where the school district fell in what line. And Miss Braswell, correct? She has started looking at that process to do that for us,
Okay.
because you're absolutely right. We need to see where schools are when it comes to these specific lines. That way we can tell if there's a cluster of schools in a certain area and where they fall. And I know that was one of the first things I asked for when I came on this board, and we didn't. So that's not on you, that's on us to make sure we have that in place to do that. And I think Ms. Braswell has already started that process and working with someone in IT group to sort of lay that out.
Thank you.
Yes.
I knew it's coming. I felt like that would be overlooked.
yeah, and we can consider whether you want to create larger maps that we could use for reference. Another district I'm working with created larger maps of the 3 plans that showed the schools. Now it's a large district and they have a lot of folks working for them, but that was something that they were able to do. We don't personally have the capacity to do that, but we can certainly work with staff and help support folks in doing that.
The nationality EIS department.
We did it before.
We'll be having to work.
And in the past, we've gotten that information and we worked with the Nash County GIS department to get that done.
So I want to ask Dr. Ellis if he would work with his team, sort of get something in place and work with you guys so that we can sort of have maybe a bigger map so you can actually see.
Because what you're asking for is like the schools kind of plotted in those districts with the,
Mhm. That's what I was thinking.
I'm sure Mr. Davis can help us out on that.
And we will look at whether or not the schools can be added as a layer on the interactive map. That would be a great tool. I don't know if that's possible because there would have to be some type of layer data file that would enable us to do that, but we can try.
This is what she wants. So you see those schools with the stars on.
What I'm pretty sure I could do is do the same thing that I did with developments. But it's got a census block that the school is in.
Mhm.
I could
There you go.
make a dot of that
Right.
at each school and have that be
Mhm.
on the interactive map. Put it on the.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
So before you guys leave out, I'll actually, I'm looking at it right now and it shows all the districts that Ms. Braswell had actually forwarded out. And I'm looking at every school where they are donated by stars. So we'll try to get that to you, so
Okay.
you'll see that as well. So it's all the work's already been done.
Great.
That's great.
Mr. Sharp, I'm sorry. We couldn't hear what he said. Can anyone just briefly explain what he said?
We're going to work collaboratively with staff to get the schools shown as a layer in the interactive map so that when board members or citizens go there and can click on the various layers, they can also see what schools would be in which districts.
Thank you.
Will we have do we have as yet the link for the interactive map?
Yeah.
We do have that. I left my phone and this thing. I hadn't gotten into it yet, but.
It's
okay.
in the
It's,
assembly.
yeah, it's
In the
the
first.
First slide.
Yeah, it's in the,
support, it's supporting link.
Yep.
Okay.
It's good, it's good.
Okay. Well, you check.
we're actually pulling up the interactive map right now. See how it works. So you see that obviously the map is right there in the center, and there's that layer table up there. And so right now, that is showing alternative B with the residential development. So why don't we click off of those and click onto current map, which is down at the bottom, and then put on the Nash precincts and the Edgecombe precincts. And so that's a reflection of the current plan with the precincts. And as Bill mentioned, you can see all the split precincts there where the colors bleed over the black lines. The top left is find address or place in that box. And so why don't we put in the address for this building just to see how that works?
You want the addresses of all the schools.
Right.
Same thing, that would work. I was hoping I could zoom in and see it, you know,
Yeah.
just, I would know the roads or the streets, but I couldn't get it.
So, okay, so
Yeah, now
that
we
zoomed
can do
us,
that.
that zoomed us into where we are right now. And then if you pull out a little bit, keep going out, you can see that that is in district
Right there.
Mhm.
4. And so now if you can click off of current maps and say, let's do alternative A, you can see that dot there, still in District 4, not by much, but still in District 4. And then let's show option B and option C. Still in 4. It's still in 4. So there's just an example of picking a location. And you can, let's just zoom all the way in. You can get to the street level with
Yeah.
street names right there. And so I know that.
I don't want to waste time, but in the box, of the search box, if we put Southern Nash High School,
Put Hubbard.
there's Southern Nash.
Yeah, put Hubbard.
I won't
You got the
know.
address,
I
Bob?
don't know the address,
Just try to put the
Okay.
school
Southern
name.
Nash High School. Maybe.
just by name,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hooker Elementary School. Hey,
Okay,
That's
good.
all right.
there you go.
Okay, now put that.
That's all right.
That's Ohio.
Oh.
There. No, there.
Yes, sir.
I thought that lane looked awful flat.
It's MB Hubbard, that's right.
There it is, Southern Nash, I bet.
Okay, so that works.
Mhm. That's good.
Okay.
Well, that answers some of it. That's good.
And that's showing it in alternative C right there. So the interactive map is actually a pretty powerful tool. You can do a lot. You can do a lot with it. It can really help you compare. But again, we'll work in any way possible. If we want to add more formal layers with school, we can work with Dr. Ellis and his team on that. Any other questions? So I would say that at Monday's meeting, we should be prepared to really dig in and talk about thoughts and preferences. And I think we also really need to have a public engagement plan leaving Monday's meeting, what that's going to look like. Is it going to be a public hearing early in the process? Is it going to be a public hearing later in the process? Is it going to be something more robust where we're doing community meetings? But we need to get that lined up ASAP. So I would want to walk out of Monday's meeting with with a plan in place on public engagement and start to talk about the substance of the plan.
We'll make sure that happens.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for an outstanding job. You did great. Appreciate that. Mr. Bill, always great seeing you. Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda, the next item by the Freezer for Child Nutrition, Shannon Davis.
Good afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
All right, an RFP was advertised in January for the replacement of 2 freezers and 1 refrigerator for Child Nutrition Department. Singer T&L, Down East Food Solutions, and Hamilton Refrigeration Services submitted bids. T&L submitted the low bid of $171,884.36, as shown on the attached bid document. Project will be funded with ESSER stimulus funds. Superintendent recommends the purchase be approved to Singer T&L in the amount of $171,884.36.
That's the most, can I get a motion on that?
Motion to approve the T&L bid.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Mr. Lamb, seconded by Ms. Davis. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, I need a roll call vote. Franklin Lamb,
Yes.
Donovan Davis,
Yes.
Mike Dunstan,
Yes.
Sharonda Bullock,
Yes.
Bill Sharp, yes. Thank you. Next item, building for child nutrition.
Pre-bid meeting was conducted in January for a 35 by 90-foot metal building for child nutrition. Smithson Incorporated, R.N. Weaver LLC, and R&L Buildings and Son LLC submitted bids. Smithson Incorporated submitted the low bid of $137,718, as shown on the attached bid document. This project will be funded with capital outlay funds. Superintendent recommends the project be approved to Smithson Incorporated in the amount of $137,718.
Questions or discussions? Need a
I
motion?
think-
I'm sorry, Ms. Bull. I'm sorry. I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the bid as stated.
Second.
It's been properly moved, Mr. Lamb, second by Ms. Davis. Question or discussion?
I still have the same, objection, to this building as I had at our last meeting. I'm not against the purchase, but I am against deliberately thinking and considering and moving the facility out of its present location. And simply because the children in Edgecombe County, we get funds, we get ESSER funds based on their membership in our district. And I think it's a bit underhanded what we are about to do. And I do want to make sure that I register that observation.
Okay. So any other questions or discussions? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Franklin Lamb?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you on that?
I am.
No, you are. Donovan Davis.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just,
Sorry. I-
Mike Dunstan,
Yes.
Sharonda Bullock,
Yes.
Bill Sharp, yes. So carried. So just to talk Ms. Bullock's issue, and that's great. That's where we have these discussions at these meetings. So we'll be bringing this recommendation from this committee to the full committee. And we'll have that same motion, Ms. Bullock. You can express your concern to that as well.
Most definitely.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. The last item on our agenda is amendment, and that was the Tyler Technology. Who's going to talk to that?
Ms. Whitman, you gonna talk to Ms. Wallace? This was something we talked about in January when Ms. Jarrett proposed this would be the integration of new technology software for finance. And they are now asking for us to have a contract that we're gonna be with Tyler Technologies. So I'll let you explain.
I think we've already put the contract to you, Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
And at this time, we're just ready to move forward with the migration. Once the board fully approves this migration, this is our first step as Nash County Public Schools to modernize our system. And we really do need to integrate the financial modules with the HR modules. And this program that Tyler has put together for us will do that. So we are really excited about this new software and implementing it in our system.
I think you all are familiar with the migration system. We've been talking about it for probably a little over a year right now. And it's finally coming to fruition. And we have received the funding. We have not received the funding, but the funding is available through the state based on the approved budget. And we would like the approval to move forward with the purchase.
So with that said, I need a motion to take this to the full board.
So move.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. Lamb. Question or discussions? I just like to say, Ms. Whitman, thank you for the things that you're doing at Central Office. You've been marvelous in stepping in, filling in that gap. We thank you for all your hard work and dedication. Thank you also, Ms. Watts, for working with that. With that said and done, questions or discussion? Franklin Lamb, did we not vote yet? And we voted? Have we voted through this?
We had a motion.
Okay, that's what I think. Roll call vote, Franklin Lamb,
Yes.
Donovan Chavis,
Yes.
Lank Dunkston,
Yes.
Sharonda Bullock,
Yes.
and Bill Sharp, yes. With that said, that concludes the meeting for the administrative service. The next thing on the agenda will be, we'll move right along to Mr. Franklin Lamb and his committee.
Okay, I'll need a roll call vote. LaShonda Washington,
Here.
Reggie Silver, Chris Bissett,
Here.
Sharonda Bullock.
Here.
I will need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Washington, second by Mr. Bissett to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Moving right along, field trips. Mr. Chad Thompson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So overnight and out-of-state field trips must have Nash County Board approval. The supporting document that you see in assembly contains all the field trips that fall into this category for March 2nd board meeting. So this month, we have 3 field trips. One with Rocky Mountain Middle School, where they will be going to King's Dominion for a technology, engineering, and design day. The second one is for a Skills USA competition in a CTE class for Northern Nash High School. And then lastly is Nash Central High School during the spring break. They will be taking a trip to New Orleans for African American history. Superintendent is asking for approval of these field trips for this month.
Need a motion to approve the field trip.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Washington.
No, that
Ms.
was
Bullock.
Thomas
Excuse me.
Bullock.
Need a second?
I'll second, but I also need discussion, please.
Oh, okay.
So, Mr. Thompson, it will, while they meet board policy, especially number 1, that's a lot of students in proportion to the guidance and chaperone, if it's
Okay.
correct as I see it.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would like to see that increase, please,
Okay.
if at all possible. There's 50 students, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And as it stands, there were 3.
It's
many
actually
total?
4, 5, 6.
4.
6. It's 6 chaperones to 50.
Not quite there with me yet.
Sure.
So if we could get that increased, I'm still able to support.
Okay, so we want more over the board, right? Correct.
You're right. And then on number
How many is
3,
more?
3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
How many is more?
maybe 10. Can we get 10? 8 to 10?
I can definitely see for the school, and so we're saying after
These
they
are
have
middle
met the
schoolers, yeah.
requirement, but you would like to see more.
Right.
May I interject something, Dr. Washington?
Mr. Thompson,
So-
what does the policy require? What is the minimum requirement?
Is 1 to 10 students.
And we met the minimum requirements.
We have met the minimum requirement. We have we could take 60 students.
Okay. So based what Dr. Washington is asking or requesting, if you get them fine, then the board will vote on what we have.
Okay, and we will work on that.
Thank you.
Well, if that's the case, we might need to look at changing the board policy.
Policy committee.
Thank you. That's a good point, Mr. Lamb. And since Ms. Bullock walked in the door, we might want
Oh,
to
yes.
bring that up at the next policy committee meeting. All right.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor of the field trip, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise, motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you.
Calendar approval for city and early college high school. Ms. Griffin.
As you are aware, each 3 years, we have to adopt calendars for the upcoming cycles. We have adopted for the traditional schools, early college and city, both are under the guidance of the Nash Community College, so their calendars are dependent on that. So before you is the calendar for the 22-23 school year for them. The 23-24 is still pending because the community college has not finalized their calendar at that time. So as soon as theirs is finalized, I will come back to you with the 23-24 for them as well.
Any questions on the calendar? I'll entertain a motion to approve the calendar.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bissett, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. S. Bullock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Why I hate Zoom meetings. Ms. Griffin, just stay there with summer programs.
So each year, we have to have approval from the board for our summer programs. These are the ones that we used to call retest, but remember, we can't call them retest anymore because of legislation and policy. So we call them summer opportunities. So this year, we will be lumping our summer opportunities in with our Summer Scholars Academy. And so the retesting will be done at the end of the Summer Scholars Academy rather than rushing students through another testing opportunity just days after they have finished their initial administration. So the dates are on the document that we provided for you through Assembly. And the only kind of questionable one right now is the English 2, because that one has to be sent off for scoring. But I am waiting for finalized dates from DPI on what the deadline for that is for the summer. But I think I pushed it far enough back that we're going to be safe.
I need a recommendation to approve the summer program.
I move to recommend approval to the full board, yes.
Motion by Ms.
Second.
Washington, second by Ms. S. Bullock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Motion carried. Griffin, request for research.
So there was one request for research this time that is before you. It is working with the nurses and working on mental health issues with our nurses. So that one is, the superintendent recommends approval of that one.
Any questions or discussion? I need a
I'll
motion.
make the motion, Mr. Lamb.
All
Now
right, motion by
second.
Mr. Bissett, second by Ms. Washington, to Dr. Washington.
Fine.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise, motion carried. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion also.
Motion by Mr. Bissett, second by Dr. Washington. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Dr. Washington.
Ready? Good afternoon. The time is 5:49. I'd like to call the Nash County Board of Education Student Support Services and Operations Committee to order. I'll start with a roll call for verification of established quorum. Board Member Chavis? Here. Board Member Jenkins? Board Member Edwards? Board Member Bullock? Here. And I'm present, the quorum established. All right, first I'll start with reviewing the agenda. There are a total of 3 items on the agenda for a recommendation for approval to the full board and 2 items for information. First item for approval would be the minutes from the last meeting. I have reviewed those and I make that motion to approve those minutes. Is there a second? Second. Okay, so the meeting minutes from the last meeting have been approved. That's a tongue twister there, sorry. I'll go ahead and call roll to verify that. Ms. Chavis?
Yes.
Ms. Bullock?
Yes.
Yes, minutes approved. Thank you. Motion carried. Next item that we have for approval, where is Mr. McQueen? The board bid. The board bid is included in your packet for reference. Has everyone had a chance to review that? Thank you. I have a motion to approve the bid. Recommend to the full board by Ms. Bullock, E. Bullock. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Chavis. Thank you. Motion carried. Next item for approval is the ECF funding and purchases. That was also included in your packet. I hope that you've had a chance to review that. I'll entertain a motion to recommend to the full board.
Make motion, recommend to the full board then.
Thank you. Motion made by Board Member Chavis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member E. Bullock for the record. Is there any discussion? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item is that nice presentation from Mr. Farrell, Mr. Hopkins on transportation. And you might want to start, Mr. Hopkins, with prefacing about why we're having it, the presentation.
Yes, yes. Good evening, board chair, board vice chair, board members, those attending in person and virtually. The whole purpose of this presentation is to update the progress of the transportation department as it relates to raises, bonuses, student ridership, driver shortages, buses in use, and the hiring of 2 mechanics.
I couldn't get mine. It's a link. It's not an attachment, it's a link.
Yeah, student support.
People want, I got some technology for.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Okay, again, we just wanted to update you. I believe the last time that the board may have been updated was in September. So we just currently wanted to let you all know where we are with transportation. Okay, thank you. All right, so to discuss our drivers and buses, as of 2/21, which was last Monday, we had a total of 113 buses with routes. The number of buses with routes and without a driver was currently 2 as of last Monday. We started the school year with 12 vacancies and we currently have 10. So what we've done, we've collapsed some of the routes and put those students on buses that was less crowded. The number of drivers driving, a total of 118. 5 drivers only drive during the morning and 5 drivers only drive during the afternoon. We have about 30 total substitute drivers, but we have actively 17. 17 sub drivers that have driven since January, since we returned from Christmas. Bus license classes have been ongoing. October, December, and February classes were canceled by the DMV due to low enrollment. If you all can remember, those were some of the months where we had our highest spike during COVID. So a lot of them just did not attend the bus classes. We do have a class that's scheduled at the end of March 21st through the 24th, I do believe. And currently right now we have about 4 to 5 people that's scheduled for the March bus class. In January, we did have 10 completers. 5 are currently employed with our school district. They serve in the role of a coach, our athletic director, or a dual employee. Our student riders are currently assigned to a bus. Again, as of February 21st, we had 9,143 out of 14,497. Those numbers are up. Traditionally, about 7,500 students are assigned to buses. That's about 63% of the students in our district are assigned to ride a bus. Back in September, when you had a presentation, it was right at 63.3, if I'm not mistaken. So it really hasn't changed so much. So some of the transportation updates. Bus drivers are calling out daily because of various reasons and unable to drive. This adds an additional layer of strain due to the shortage of bus drivers. These routes then become double routes, which drivers will assist with. We coordinate that at the transportation department. Most of the time we'll reach out to a bus driver who has a shorter route to see if they're willing to pick up their extra route. Although we have 17 substitute drivers, it is very hard and difficult to get many of them to agree to drive because they either have other employment obligations, which does not align to the driving schedule. A lot of times, give you a prime example, this morning, we had 2 drivers on the southern end that called out. So trying to get a substitute at that time at 6 o'clock or 5:45 can be very difficult. There is a bus shortage, a bus driver shortage all over the state and nation. School systems surrounding us have been a little strategic in how they get sub drivers, such as Martin, Bertie, Craven, Pitt, Wilson, and Edgecombe. They do not have a bus driver shortage issue as far as finding subs due to their TAs being required to drive. Edgecombe County also uses custodians and their child and nutrition staff. We currently have 19 drivers out of 128 that are dual employees working either as teachers, teacher assistants, and with the child and nutrition. Our department has recently interviewed and made a recommendation to hire a mechanic. And we're in the process of interviewing another applicant next week. That will help greatly if we can get everybody and all of our personnel filled in the garage. This slide is basically discussing salaries and bonuses and raises. During the summer of 2021, those drivers who assisted with the Summer Scholars Academy transportation needs of our students had opportunities to earn up to $1,200 in incentives for their attendance. Those who missed under 5 days had an opportunity to earn a percentage of the total bonus. During the summer, a total amount of $84,700 was earned during the Summer Scholars Academy. During September 2021, drivers' salaries increased from step 41 to step 45. Bus monitors also saw an increase in their pay scale step from 38 to 40. Drivers earned retention bonuses with other district employees in December 2021 and received bonuses issued for state employees during January 2022. And before the state bill was passed to ensure that state employees were paid an hourly wage at $13 an hour for the school year 21-22 fiscal year, Our district's bus drivers were already making a higher hourly wage than other bus drivers in surrounding counties. Currently, the average hourly wage of a Nash County Public School bus driver is $15.16 per hour. Please see the following average years of experience, the breakdown. So those drivers that have between 0 to 10 years of experience, just an average, they're making around $14.48. Drivers with 11 to 20 years of experience, just an average, they are making $15.29 per hour. And drivers with 21 to 30 plus years of experience, they're making around $17.16 per hour. And again, that's just an average of all those drivers who fall in that category. Something that we're pretty excited about that we're getting ready to implement, and we'll have our first meeting next week. During March of 2022, our department will implement a committee to jointly work together to listen and strive to resolve the issues of our transportation department. The committee will be comprised of drivers, mechanics, monitors, and district leadership. So this is an opportunity for us to come together, just like a leadership team would inside of a school building, and try to resolve some of the issues that our transportation are faced with on a day-to-day basis. In closing, we are still facing challenges of shortages related to drivers and drivers calling out due to illness and other reasons. We will continue to work and implement a plan to assist attendance with our drivers going forth and for the upcoming school year. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
One, in the transportation meetings statewide, has there been any discussion about North Carolina maybe lowering the age of a bus driver? Because I've talked with Mr. Perry back in the day. I know, for example, we have the CDL classes at Nash Community College. We've got 4 high schools. If I was an assistant principal at Southern Nash High School, I could find 10 students, 17 years old, that were mature enough to drive a bus. And I can remember how good a driver we had. It used to be 16. We had no problem. We had excellent drivers back then. But when the age is increased to 19 now, by the time you get them trained and with the experience, they're gone.
Yes, sir.
I just wish that would be for our legislators or lawmakers. I wish that discussion, since it is a statewide shortage, would come up again and let school districts have some input. Because we could work with Nash Community College with their CDL program, and a lot of great things could happen piggybacking off one another.
Yes, sir. There is a meeting tomorrow at Beaufort Community College in Washington, where they will discuss some changes to the training requirements and even offering virtual training. So that's something that the state is considering too.
I liked the fact that you bring all stakeholders together to discuss issues. I think that's going to be a great thing. But from what we've already heard from the bus drivers, can you tell me about what other type of incentives that you have that make them feel more appreciated? Incentives and programs of that type that you may be considering bringing about or offering?
Well, as far as incentives or programs that are structured, I'm gonna be honest with you, Dr. Washington, we're still in the process of brainstorming those ideas. But one thing that I have done, I've started visiting schools during dismissals, getting on the buses, talking to these bus drivers, listening to them, hearing their concerns, what challenges they are faced with. I've done this now at about 5 schools since I've been here. I have an open door policy in which I invite drivers to come in and sit down, because that's the only way that we can address any issues. So, you know, just welcoming them and letting them know that they are a part of the team. We did celebrate them during Bus Driver Appreciation Week, and we're getting ready to celebrate them and highlight everything that they've done for our district again come March the 18th.
One more question, I'm gonna leave you alone.
Yes, ma'am.
In that scenario you gave where the bus driver called out and it was early morning, does the kid get to school? I mean, that concerns me. Does the bus ever come? That concerns me because that directly impacts learning.
Yes, ma'am. So the process is when that bus driver calls, we will send a Connect Ed call to all the students on that particular bus.
Mhm.
That assistant principal that's over the buses, the bus coordinator will also get that call. So an administrator at the school has been notified that the bus is late. So what happens, that now becomes a double run. So for example, we talk about Southern Nash High School, Southern Nash Middle, we try to have those students to school within 30 minutes of the startup time. Sometimes we fall a little short, just depending on the distance out there on the southern end. When we have that situation right here in town, Rocky Mount, those are much shorter routes. So we can really try to get those students there within the 30-minute window in which we set as a target.
I understand.
And I know there's a shortage and all, but like everybody has emergencies.
Yes.
The bus driver calling in. I can remember in the past, the old saying that the tail that wags the dog,
Right.
because we were so short, we were scared to dismiss bus drivers. I hope you don't have that problem. But if they continue doing that, like Dr. Washington said, it's hurting educational opportunities
Yes, sir.
for 40 people on that bus.
Yes, sir.
We would be better off if we didn't have them.
I'm not on the committee, but I appreciate that report. It's very well done.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Shaw.
Well, I really appreciate this. I don't have a concern, but every month I hear a bus driver come and reporting now as far as their concerns at this meeting. What I'm hearing and what I'm seeing now, we're one of the higher paid bus drivers transportation in this area.
Yes, sir.
So what are we doing? And when you got this committee selected out, I think the expectation here is one individual does not represent a total community for the bus drivers.
That's correct.
So as you formulate this committee, I'd like to hear from a spokesperson from that committee that you got,
Yes, sir.
so we can hear what the bus drivers are actually saying
Yes, sir.
and not necessarily the voice of one or two people,
Yes, sir.
because you comprise of your bus driver. How many bus drivers do you have?
128.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So if we can hear from that, that's what I like.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. And I won't be before you much longer. The next item is just for information only, but it is a topic that I would like to bring before the committee.
They approved it.
The bid sheet that was included. Did I not approve it?
Yeah.
Did
I thought
Yeah,
you
we
did,
did.
but I
We
thought
did.
you rolled
We
them
did.
together. Yeah, she just rolled them. Yeah,
Yeah.
you did.
You good? Okay. It's on the record, I promise. It's on the record, I promise. The final item, metal detector discussion, is something that I wanted to bring before the committee, just to introduce and have the conversation. Safety is one of our strategic priorities, or a part of one, and I just feel that it's time. We're living in a day and time that we need to consider other ways to make our schools safe. So what I'm asking is to gauge the input of the committee and any other board members here. What I would like to do the next time is direct staff to research our options and bring us back some recommendations. So what are your thoughts about that? Committee members especially.
So Dr. Washington, the question was having metal detectors at all entrances in the schools every day. So that was the question. Is that right?
Correct. To do the
So now let
research.
the board- Yeah.
Yeah, evaluate or identify pros and cons with that, bringing that back to the board. I'm taking baby steps, but like I said, it's time for us to have this conversation. So I just want to get input from the committee before employing any action from the superintendent and his cabinet.
I wonder how much the cost would serve fulfilling the purpose of having. Of course, you can't put lives in there,
Correct.
but if somebody wanted to do harm to any student at school, there were so many entrances and so many ways to go. I mean, somebody
It would be
pure
controlled.
evil, they're gonna do what they need to do anyway.
I think it's a good idea to discuss it. I'm not so sure of what information will come forth. I would be interested in hearing what would be presented.
Yeah, so the next step would look like we would maybe engage our stakeholders and get their input, of course, the community, parents, to see how they feel about the current level of safety in our schools, and if, what they suggest. Ms. Chavis, did you have?
I like the idea of pursuing it. I've worked in areas where there are large crowds, like 2,000 and 3,000 people entering a building. And it's very hard to warn all of those people physically. It's easier if they could pass through something. I think it would be good because we need that kind of protection. We never can predict the next move, but the pricing would be, I think, very important to look at.
And to Mr. Lamb's point, you would probably want to centralize entrances so that you effectively mitigate, anything that's coming in to kind of, I feel like we have a duty to mitigate violence.
Dr. Ellis, don't you already have a parent advisory committee?
We do. And we had, Dr. Washington chair would be Mr. Farrer, kind of the idea, and what we thought we would go through. Mr. Farrer has a safety team with law enforcement, and we can start just gathering information and bring it back. We can easily put that on one of the parent advisory councils just to talk about.
And I know you're talking about safety. One of the best things I can remember happening was working with the sheriff's department, and we had the drug dogs come in. They wouldn't do anything but walk through. Now, I think some schools sort of balk at that, but they're not there to catch somebody with drugs. But just knowing that they can at any time come on our school grounds and just walk down the hallways, walk in, out the library. That was I think a good deterrent problem.
All right, if there's is there any other business to come before the committee? If there's none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Motion made by Ms. E. Bullock. Second by Ms. Chavis. Okay. All right, meeting adjourned.
With that said, that concludes our committee meetings. I'd like to thank everybody for their participation, and the committee meetings are over.